All right, we are live for SprocketPod episode 3. Thank you
Great.
very much to my co-host Mark Lerner for being here and for our guest Rob Jones for joining us today. Rob, how are you
Welcome.
doing today?
As you can tell by my background, I have, I think, food poisoning or something wrong. It's great to be here. Glad to be able to talk and function and be in this room and not about 30 feet that way in another room, less fun room. So great to be here.
Well, good news is that if anyone can get creative with having food poisoning, it's going to be you.
Yeah,
And
yes. Thank you for that.
we'll
I
throw you
don't know
some
if that's a
softballs.
compliment or not, but I'm going to choose to take it as a compliment. So thank you.
I think it's a compliment. I've had food poisoning before, and I all the power to you. I couldn't even move, so that's let alone podcast. So you're my hero.
The show must go on. I think that's in Hollywood or Broadway, one of the two, but the show must go on. I committed to this, so I'm here.
Let's do it.
There's
Let's
something to be
go.
said for commitment,
There we
for
go.
sure. And Rob, I want to let you open up just a very quick introduction because I don't know about you and the persona that you've built around the mayor and how you feel about it. I'd love to hear about that. But I think a lot of people do know you as the mayor of Inbound. So I want you to give us a quick introduction into Rob Jones, the person, the mayor of Inbound, the character, and how the two came and collided.
Yeah, that's you said softballs. That's like a wiffle ball or one of those blitz balls they throw. Where anyway, the mayor started as a not a joke, but a kind of a response to one of the security people at Inbound asking me what I did. So I wore the suit in 2022. Somebody checking in as soon as you get your badge and you scan in and check it at the BCEC was like, "Who are you supposed to be?" I was like, "Oh, I'm the mayor of this whole conference. You know, I'm the mayor of Inbound." That is who I am just in life. I like to think that I'm clever and witty and have a sense of humor. So that character was born from that. All of the other stuff is now trying to figure out the depth of that persona. Like, there's a great question in relation to other stuff that I want to do. We got one person on this call wearing an orange suit. Don't know what inspired you to do that, but here I am. Even right now with the horrible mustache, there's another bit and another character that I'm trying to create. He may or may not be dating Taylor Swift, and he may or may not play for the Kansas City Chiefs. This is about as close as I can get to looking like a professional football player or athlete. It was a low lift, hopefully high impact. But I think that I'm going to give a shout out to Chris Bogue, the mayor, and other characters and other bits and some of the content that I do. Chris Bogue, who was a consultant, a creative consultant with us for a minute, he had mentioned if you want to be able to say things and have opinions that are maybe a little bit more polarizing, then you can just create a character. And then whatever that person says, it's not technically you, it's this persona or character or whatever. I'm wearing the HubSpot shirt now, doing all that, but I probably in my normal dealings wouldn't say Salesforce sucks or blah, blah, blah. But the mayor can say that. The mayor he has the authority to do that. I probably wouldn't wear an orange suit again to Inbound and have the Reese Witherspoon shirt, but the mayor, he's been known to do stuff like that. So if you have those types of ideas, which I know, Cameron, you do, but if you're listening to this and then you need to explore a concept or an idea, take the Chris Bogue method and just create a character around it. It's a good way.
You're muted, Cameron. We're doing it
Yeah, I
live.
think there's a lot of interesting elements there to really building the persona as an individual. And then it's something I think companies can adopt as well, as far as how are people going to view them? How are people viewing their employees? The point of this conversation is not to talk about the all bound approach, which Mark, you and I talked about that last week. But when we look at how companies are building their brand reputation and how they encourage their employees to do that, it's something that I think employees really can and should be leveraging, whether that character is a mirror of yourself or it's somebody completely new and reinvented. I think that there's a lot of applications to taking that concept and expanding on it. Go
I
ahead.
agree. I would just add that I don't think it should be it should be aspects of your personality that you can lean into harder, if that makes sense. Like, I'm sarcastic and clever and witty and dad jokes and all that stuff. So I can lean more into that with kind of the mayor or persona characters. I would not suggest being there's other you mentioned personal brands and companies using that. If you've seen like Jake from State Farm or Flo from Progressive or any of these characters that they take the sarcastic and humorous approach sometimes and do that sort of stuff. So it shouldn't be a complete departure from some of your like favorable personality traits, but rather more leaning into those things.
Do you ever have trouble turning it on if you're having a bad day or you're just too tired, like actually turning it, like going into character? Because I do. I have lots of aspects of my personality that could be a character in and of themselves, but it's hard because some days you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, you didn't have enough coffee, and you're just like, I don't want to play that today.
Some days you have food poisoning, but yeah, it's hard. I am more of the Myers-Briggs has a personality assessment where you can be an X, like you can be extrovert or introvert. I'm literally an X, so I'm both. I would say I'm more around like inbound the conference, more introverted, but the mayor isn't. So you can almost use that as an excuse to be more personable, whereas I normally wouldn't seek out and go do stuff like that. But the mayor can. But yeah, it's hard sometimes to do it. It's hard sometimes to generate that, but it takes practice. Just like anything else, I deal with people all the time at RP, externally, at other businesses that are associates that are like, I just don't like being on camera. I don't think I sound good. I don't think I look good. I'm not interesting. You really haven't done it enough. And it's the same with a persona or character or bit that you're doing. You just have to practice it. The creative muscle exists and should be exercised.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the things you brought up, Cameron, was companies having a persona. And I think that's super interesting because I think for a long time, B2B companies shied away from that, and some still do. They don't want to step on any rakes or whatever and get into any trouble. And so they'd rather just be very dry. I think the company that I think of first when I think of one that their actual company presence created a persona was Gong. I think they did a really good job where you could see something on LinkedIn and you were like, that's Gong. You know it immediately. And I've seen other companies do that. And I really like that approach because it personalizes the brand, where even if you're a B2B buyer, you're still an individual and you need to be able to identify with the brand to make your internal case. So I think it's an important aspect of the whole thing.
Yeah, I agree. I think that probably, I wouldn't say closer, but in the same space. I've only been here at RevPartners and been B2B SaaS for almost 2 years now. But the first one I really noticed that was completely different was Lavender. And they do the Lavender. It almost looks like a traditional company. I would like an insurance company where they have the funny bits and the humor and the guy in the green suit. They do a really good job at that. But that's a good example of them creating a persona that is supposed to be representative of everybody else. They're all really smart, really savvy people that help you write better emails faster. I think that's their tagline. But they have the jingle, they have the short commercials and skits. They have done such a good job with kind of creating that narrative and the persona to go along with kind of the brand stance. So yeah, Gong, great example. Lavender for me. All the Wills, those guys are awesome over there.
Yes, for sure.
Cameron's back on mute again. He doesn't understand that you have to unmute once you
Well,
mute.
What a boomer.
No, we talked a little bit about turning the character on, having on days and off days. What about turning it off? You work from home, I know, but do you get to the end of the day and you crawl in bed and you've still got the orange suit on and life is just one of those
got the
days?
orange mustache. It doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Man, I don't know about turning it off because again, it's like a multiplier of how I already am anyway. Like I'll talk to people. I have so many stories I'm not going to go into now that are, to me, they're funny. But yeah, turning it off is weird. My kids all think that I am a YouTube influencer and that I work for, my kid thinks I work for HubSpot. And he says I make dreams come true. He thinks I'm like Make-A-Wish for whatever reason, but he's 5 and he's awesome.
We should trademark that.
Yeah, we should. Deanna Geoff knows about that. We're working on something for that. I thought it was a cool idea. But yeah, again, it's not, if the mayor persona was more like was evil or was like, or if I think it'd be a little bit different to turn off because it'd take more to get into it. But now we're talking less about content creation, I think, and more on like method acting. Well, like Leo does for The Revenant, where he lived in the cold for months at a time. It's nothing like that. It's just, I have to wear an orange suit. Actually, this is the most interesting thing I think that I'll say. But putting on the suit is literally getting into character or getting into the persona. So when I take it off, it's off. At inbound, putting it on is, okay, now I'm supposed to be personable and funny and go talk to everybody. And so if you're going to do something like that, whether it's glass, like sunglasses or like a backwards head, whatever it is, it's almost like a trigger switch for me to where put on the orange jacket. I am the mayor, or I am this persona. Take it off, done. It's different with this because I can't take it off or hide it, the mustache. So we'll see how that works whenever this new content starts coming out. But it's an interesting concept to literally put on. It's like Superman, right? Like you put on the cape and there you go. take it off and you're back to Clark Kent.
Yeah, with your glasses on.
I'm glad I get that reference. So to move from method acting and to shift it into the HubSpot ecosystem, right? When we talk about creativity in the HubSpot ecosystem, there's partners, right? So you've got Gong, Lavender, we've already talked about them, but who are some of the main personalities or people that you think leverage creativity when it comes to getting their content out there?
Mark, I'll let you start this.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm in like super podcast mode. So I came from, I interviewed someone else for a podcast and then came right here to this. And I was interviewing Stuart from Arrows, and I actually really like the content they do, not necessarily only like video content, but the stuff he shares on LinkedIn is from a HubSpot perspective is so cool because it's just steal this workflow and he just does a screenshot of the workflow. It seems so simple, but it's like actionable, it's useful. Someone can look at it and be like, okay, I can just do that. And here's and kind of provide context. I love that kind of stuff. There's obviously the entertaining stuff is fun. And if it's a way to provide thought leadership through comedy or value through comedy, it's awesome. But I think when you really give someone something they can walk away with that's tangible and they like can do something with make their job better, I love that. So I'm a big fan of those kind of things. That was one that's off the top of my head. And I'm a friend of Cameron. Cameron's got some really funny clips out there that I wish I could have that kind of presence on the camera. Maybe one day. Maybe I need a mustache.
Well, I don't think it's a surprise, right, where I get my inspiration from, right? We've got Rob here who I don't know, Rob, if you would say you started this notion of doing like skits and bits like in the HubSpot ecosystem. I guess that's my question for you. Do you think you started that, or did you draw this like creative inspiration to get wacky with it from somewhere else?
Yeah, Max Cohen is the reason I'm doing this. So coming over, I was actually an intern at RevPartners first, and one of the things was figure LinkedIn out in not so many words. So he was one of the first people I saw that was a brilliant person, a solutions engineer, but he did the workflows and like he could talk you through how to set up different aspects of HubSpot, how to build workflows, how to do all of that. That's what he does or did at the time for them. But he did it in a way that looked very different than other 95% of the other stuff that I was seeing on LinkedIn or on social, with kind of the TikTok, like the quick videos and the humor. So yeah, 100%, he's my boy. It came from him. But then again, started getting into that. This exists everywhere else. This type of stuff exists all over social media. It's just not in this particular place. I wouldn't even say HubSpot ecosystem. I would just say in B2B. It's becoming more prevalent now. But no, I will not take credit for that. There's tons of way better, way smarter, way more creative people out there. I just try to copy from them. I think it's really funny that you said steal this workflow. I've been stealing people's like creative workflows for a year and a half and trying as best I can to give them credit for it. But yeah, Max definitely, he's a happily now shout out, but he was the first person that I saw that kind of led me to think at least one other person thinks it's okay to be funny on a professional social media platform.
I don't know if it's been observed before, but it always seems to me that not even just marketing or ads or whatever, but I think business wise, B2B always is like a few years behind B2C. Even like the whole product led growth model was created by apps, consumer apps, and then it was incorporated. And social media obviously was a B2C thing, and then it became B2B. And the TikTok generation, it was all B2C, but we're seeing that start to filter into B2B. And I think there is a bit of friction between the comedy and the seriousness, but the ones that kind of break through, I think, are the ones that are going to win.
Yeah, they breaking through, I would say yes, but there's almost an accountability and experimentation element of doing things and trying things publicly a lot and doing it, I say a lot, consistently. One of the coolest parts about all of this is that there's really no failing unless you, I would say, do something that's not good judgment, or say, I've heard it called cancel culture. Like you can't, I would just say be smart about what you put out there. Yeah. So you called him a boomer earlier, but now I hear him talking about cancel culture. But being able to do a bunch of stuff that doesn't work so you can find out like that wasn't very smart, or that wasn't good, or I could do this better, and evaluate. I mean, I've literally, shout out Chris Bogue again, watched game tape. So watch my videos back pretty critically and said, this wasn't good. This is pretty bad. The lighting here was off. This vocal part was off. This was a train wreck. and gotten better from that. I've made 160 videos now, and I'd say that over 50% of them were not very good. But now that I know that and how to get better from them, I get hits and I get people mentioning stuff more often now just because I've done so much. So anybody listening to this that wants to get on camera or try something, the benefit really almost this is if it doesn't work, and people don't see it, it's not that big of a deal. You know what I mean? It's not every single person on LinkedIn is going to see this live. So if it doesn't work, doesn't really matter that much. If it continues to be good and you continue to do it, and we do this LinkedIn live SprocketPod every Friday, eventually people are going to just realize, man, I've seen this a couple times pop up on my feed. Let me check it out. So consistency really is, I think, the most important aspect of all this.
Totally agree.
And I think that there's something to be said. We talked a little bit about stealing, right? There's the old adage, good artists copy, great artists steal. But I would almost maybe even edit that to say great artists, they adapt. A lot of my ideas that I've had, which I've had the most fun with, are the ones where I see a reel or another video and it makes me laugh. And I go, I think I can spin that into something funny. I mean, it doesn't always end up funny, and not everybody ends up seeing it. Some of those pieces get, 50 impressions, and 25 of them are me watching it over and over again.
How do you guys handle watching yourself on camera? That, to me, that's like the most pain. Like it's like nails on a chalkboard.
I mute it.
Okay.
It sucks, bro. Yeah, it's hard. I mean, watching yourself on camera is like bad. Listening to yourself on track, like singing, is a nightmare, and I have to do both all the time. So I don't even claim to be a good vocalist. Cameron said adapting stuff. Some of our favorite, I would say, our generationally favorite comedy or favorite skits or favorite ideas are like of the SNL sketch comedy variety. There's a reason the SNL has been so popular for so long. It's taking situations, people, characters, whatever, that are already relevant, and then mixing them up together. What if B2B had a fantasy draft for reps and account? I've seen Corporate Bro do that. I've seen other people play at that, but it's taking, I call it creative agility. I don't know what else it would be called, but it's the ability to, HubSpot just acquired Clearbit. Somebody should do something about that. Travis Kelce is dating Taylor Swift. I am doing a bit about that. So taking like current events, things that are happening in the market, and then almost getting rid of, is this funny or not? People, because of me, I would not because of me, but I contribute to this. People think that you have to be funny to stand out. You don't. You just have to have a unique perspective. And ironically, being funny or comedy on LinkedIn is unique because it's not a comedy platform. It's not supposed to be serious. So anytime you're seeing how to nail your next demo and then all these sales tips and all like here's how to market, and then you see somebody in a mermaid costume, you're like, what the hell is this? I'm gonna watch it for 10 seconds and see what's going on. And that's
really a commitment to the art, wearing a mermaid costume.
Even like looking back now, there's some stuff that's been published or out there where probably wouldn't do some of it again. It was fun at the time. And learning from that, I'm excited about some of the things we've got coming up. I'll turn into the host since Cameron's like on mute half the time. What's some of our next ideas? Like, Cameron, what's some of your give us a sneak peek. Mark, I'll ask you the same question about, and again, doesn't have to be funny, doesn't have to be a bit, but what are some of the next content projects you've got coming up?
Yeah, we're really opening the vault here. Can we talk about the one that we just recorded that's being edited? Can I give a preview of that?
No, you can give hints. Cameron and I did one it's a Budweiser tribute video.
Yeah, which if you've ever seen the movie Scary Movie, they did a good rendition, and we're going to do a better rendition.
Is it with frogs or is that Budweiser?
We're getting closer, but still a little ways
to go.
They've done
so many. It's not Clydesdales. It's not the frogs. It's not what. It's the
Is that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that I know.
Yeah, I'm so excited for that. I plan on doing celebrities, so like celebrity spoofs for me. That's one that you and I were just collaborating on, but like the one that is about to go into production for me is Matthew McConaughey with Lincoln, and you didn't ask for something like this beautiful. but this is what you got. But then like it shows like HubSpot and it's like in black and white. So it's just like a really suave sounding approach to describing what will be HubSpot, but then spinning that into other TV spoofs and celebrity actors if they were doing it as well. So that's going to be a bit of a recurring theme. Hopefully it gets maybe more than 2 or 3 views so I can make more than 2 or 3 episodes of that. But then there's other iterations that I've got in the pipeline, everything from court bro style, just you're the one character talking to yourself, to stylizing content to The Bachelor. Super dramatic, crazy music, talking about absolutely nothing that makes sense and is just going to waste everyone's time for 60 seconds, but be entertaining, right? All kinds of ideas in the pipe on the fun side.
Yeah, my thoughts have been less on the comedy side. One of the things I brought up with Cameron the last night when we were talking about what we could do for this podcast was to play a game where one of us is given a scenario. You have this customer, this account, it has X amount of users, they haven't logged in this many days, their renewal is this many days from now, they've used the product this many times. What's the play? Is it like an upsell, a cross sell, a churn save? And what are the plays that you make to get them back? Send an automated email after 2 days, have the salesperson reach out, something like that, where it's fun, but also actionable and gets to our actual nuts and bolts of the work that we do and that the viewers do. I don't have enough confidence yet in my comedic skills because my dad jokes land with my kids and that's about it. So
I love that, dude. I love that idea a lot. And again, the idea now is great. So now you have the license to like, what does this look like? How do you interact with it? Is it Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but of SaaS, or is it more interview style? Those are the fun decisions you get to make. The idea is
do the SNL Jeopardy where one of us is
you can do the Jeopardy. Yes. Again, like the game and the structure and the concept is that I don't know if that whole clip belongs on LinkedIn Live, but yes, exactly that. You can be Derry. It's really weird that I also am not thinking as funnily in some of the other stuff that's coming up, but it's one of our tenets, one of our core RP beliefs, and kind of our tagline is your CRM is a product, not a project. So the onboarding and implementation and swapping over isn't just done, it's ever evolving. And so the series that I recently started working into is if your marriage was a project, not a product, and then what that would look like. So the theme there is to make a metaphor where people can start to understand our tagline better. I mean, what that actually means and what it looked like in real life. It's still funny, but it's not as, there are a lot fewer wigs and costumes involved in this one, which is, thank goodness.
Yeah, I could use a couple wigs, I think.
So to anybody that's watching that wants to participate in What's the Play or whatever iteration that ends up being, possibly next week, possibly beyond that, feel free to let us know and we'll see about getting you on the next live. Yeah. With that covered, Rob, I know we have a few moments left, and I don't know if I can say that the Clearbit acquisition is creative, although I think it is extremely important, right? And I think it was a great move. I would love to hear if you have any thoughts, and maybe it is creative. Maybe I'm not giving it enough credit in that department.
Creative as from HubSpot, whether it's creative or not, it was a good move. It's showing intent that HubSpot is going up market because now you have the ability for data enrichment right inside of HubSpot already. I think that's what's going to happen. That's what Clearbit does, and HubSpot is trying to. They typically build, right? So they build new hubs or spokes to the hub that serve as like marketing hubs, like all of that stuff. Now that you're going to have the ability to prospect and run full motions within HubSpot that's what I am thinking is going to happen with that, which makes it, again, super easy to not have to jump around for operating or making use of different systems to just have data come into one spot. Would love to hear what Mark, Cameron, what you guys think about it.
I think it was a super shrewd idea. I'm in a whole bunch of communities for RevOps people, for HubSpot people. The two things that end up being asked about the most are data, like which data enrichment platform should I use? Have you heard about this? And what's the best way to prospect? What are some strategies? By far, those seem to be and so I think it was extremely shrewd of them to be, if this truly becomes part of the product, HubSpot was always like, they invented inbound marketing. Inbound marketing was like, you write an ebook and someone gives you their information and you use that information to then nurture them or whatever. And that whole world's been turned upside down. And now with Clearbit built in, you don't even really need a form fill. You can get an indicator of someone at a company and then have your sales team reach out to the entire on an account level and have that all automated within HubSpot. It's really smart. I don't know how they integrate it if they Clearbit as a product dies and it just becomes part of HubSpot the way they did with their acquisition of the iPaaS solution that ends up being OpsHub. But I think it was a very smart idea and I was pretty surprised by it. And Clearbit's not a small startup. So yeah.
Again, I'm probably not as connected and aware as you, but there were no indicators. It wasn't like, it wasn't like the NFL trade deadline where it's like, oh, this guy's on the move or this person's going to be acquired. It was like, came out of left field. But yes, it packages up everything and it solidifies their position more, which is to go up market. I know at Inbound this past year, they talked about $76 TAM, like that they're trying to get to. This significantly helps that initiative. So Cameron, what do you think?
My career started in sales. That's what I did for almost a decade before I touched RevOps. And so for me, this is so exciting because I've done inbound sales, outbound sales, mostly outbound sales. And I've done a lot of account-based marketing driven sales at that. And so having to go between different websites and platforms and doing task switching and having to get data into HubSpot. Again, we have yet to see exactly what it's going to look like when it's fully integrated and how exactly this will play out. But having a reliable source of truth for data enrichment now, if you will, that folds into the rest of the process, I think that this is to sales what the dark funnel is to marketing in a way. Mm-hmm. So whereas when it comes to marketing, you have this concept of all the leads and contacts and people that you can't necessarily track. There's the elements before the sales process officially begins, which is your research and data enrichment process. And how was that being tracked previously? How were reps doing it previously? You would go into Zoom Info, do your prospecting, build your list, bring it into HubSpot, and off you go. If we have a way that integrates that more seamlessly in HubSpot, and if we have data around what that looks like, I think that's a huge win.
Yeah.
Totally so agree. Smart. It's great to be on calls like these with people that are obviously up here. Both of you guys are. Absolute pleasure. Cameron, that was genius. Mark, same thing. I'll be back on the SprocketPod anytime you request me, food poisoning or not. I'll be missing a leg. I'll be here. I'll crawl into this room to talk to you guys. It's
like when Michael Jordan scored 60 points in the finals when he had the flu. Just like this.
Yeah, except I had the flu, but I'm like Pippen, or no, not Pippen. Who else was Steve Kerr? It's Steve Kerr had the flu. It's like he's not that important. He still showed up. That's me.
Before I let you go, because I want to let you get back to your sickness and tending to your body and listening to your needs, give one tip to everybody that's listening, one takeaway that they can take and go off and use to be more creative.
Find out what the box that you're in is and think out of it. A lot of, as you go up market, a lot of, not even up market, but as companies get bigger and the chain of command gets longer, you have to have more approvals and you have to have more things, but also the processes and the red tape and the box gets more defined. Figure out what that is and think outside of it. And again, in this context for LinkedIn, primarily where I post, the box it's mostly really smart, professional, expert people being very serious and giving guides and like, here, comment, subscribe. For the first year and a half, I didn't put a CTA in anything that I did. And I still have closed large deals from being top of mind. You don't have to have a top mind to be top of mind. I'm an idiot a lot of times in content, and people will reach out after they've seen a video because they remember who I work for and what we do. So there you go. Figure out what kind of box you're in and think outside of it.
Love it.
Always remember what you told them, but remember how you made them feel.
That's also true.
Another good old saying from the sales days. Mark, always a pleasure to be doing the SprocketPod with you. Robert, thank you very much for joining us. For anyone that's watching on the tail end here, we are open to suggestions. If anyone's interested in joining for a future live SprocketPod, let us know.
And we'll see you next week. That time, same bat channel.
Same time, same place, LinkedIn, 10:30 Central. Bye, everyone.
See you guys. Thank you.